Hello YouTube, Cousin Kinoko here. Welcome to my Nintendo Entertainment System collection video. Like I said in my other collection videos, my collection is a little bit split up between Norway and Germany. I have some games in my storage room in Norway, but I have most of my NES games here. These are around 100 games that I have here, and I think in total I have around 115 or so. So yeah, there is no alphabetical order here. I just put them on the table, and I don't really know in which order they will come. So let's just have a look and see what I have. We have Double Dragon 3. I also have the second game in the series, and as far as I know, the third game is the worst of the three. By the way, the NES is the game that I grew up with. It was my first console that I ever had, so it is my main focus on my collection, on my collecting, and it is the game that I have the most games for after the PlayStation 2. Then we have a really beat up copy of Little Samson. This game is a very rare title, and it's an amazing platformer. It's a really great game, and it's very hard to find, and it goes for quite a lot on eBay. I think around 50 or 60 euros. Of course, it depends on the condition. But even though this is a really beat up copy, I was really happy to find this. Picked it up for €1 at a flea market. So I'm happy to have it just to be able to play that game, because it's a really good platformer. Then we have Super Off-Road, and with this 4-player adapter you can play 4-player on this game, which is really a lot of fun, and this is a really good game, definitely something to pick up. Then we have Battle Chess. This is a NTSC copy. I'm not sure if this was released in PAL territories. This could be an NTSC exclusive. Picked it up together with some other US games. Then we have Snake's Revenge, the sequel to Metal Gear Solid from Konami. I haven't played this game so much, so I don't know much about it. Then we have Legacy of the Wizard. This is an RPG and kind of a side-scrolling platformer style RPG. I haven't played it so much, but this is another US exclusive, so I've imported this one, and it was quite cheap to pick up. Dragon Warrior 2. This is also a game that wasn't released in PAL territories, but I bought this on German eBay, and like I mentioned in one of my pickup videos, when I bought this, the seller sold it as a broken copy and said that it doesn't work and that it was rattling inside. And turned out it was just a few loose pieces of plastic. I glued it together, and it works perfectly. So I got this game quite cheap, even though it is quite an expensive title to pick up. And not very expensive, but quite expensive. Mission Impossible. Then we have Adventures of Lolo. This is a really nice puzzle game, and I'm still looking for the second and the third game in the series. The first one is the most common of the three, and I really like this game. It's from HAL Laboratory, who also made Kirby. Definitely a recommended title if you like puzzle games. Track and Field 2. I'm not a huge fan of this game. It's a lot about button mashing, but I'm somehow a little bit nostalgic about it, so I do enjoy playing it just for the nostalgia. Remember playing this over at a friend's house, and we would always try and figure out ways of pushing the buttons really fast, like using a coin and rubbing it back and forth and things like that. I don't think it's not a great game somehow. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it, but it's still quite a good sports title there. Tiny Toon Adventures 2, Trouble in Wackyland. I haven't played this game so much. I think it's a platformer. Then we have a pirate copy here, 72 in 1. Supper Value Collection, as it says here, 1996. Has some images of different games here. It's got one game here that's called something like Circus, and I think this was only released on the Famicom. And don't remember exactly which other games are on here, but Excitebike is one of them at least. Soulstice. This is a really good game, and well, I haven't played it too much. It seems really difficult, but it has like a really cool graphics, isometric view, and really cool soundtrack as well. Ice Climber. Shatterhand. This is a really good platformer. Boulder Dash. This is one of my favorite games for the system. Probotector 2, Return of the Evil Forces. I have the first one also here somewhere. Actually, I'm just borrowing this game from a friend, so I don't own it, which is really annoying, because I really want to have this game in my collection. So hopefully I can convince him to buy it off him, or I'll pick it up at some point. But both Probotector 1 and Probotector 2 are must-owns for the system. Now the second one is quite a lot more rare than the first one, and it's a bit more pricey. But both of them are really good games. Silent Service. Rad Racer. I really like Rad Racer. It's really a lot of fun. So it's a recommended game for sure. It also had a sequel, but I don't have the second game in the series. It's weird with Rad Racer. It seems like such a simple racing game, but somehow it's really satisfying, and it has really tight controls. Then we have Rainbow Island, and has a really nice label here, I think. Nice artwork. I haven't played Rainbow Island so much, actually. I have it here for the NES, and I also have it for the Sega Saturn, together with a Bubble Bubble. And I think it's quite a nice game, but I haven't really gotten so much into it yet. And it's kind of weird. It also has the subtitle The Story of Bubble Bubble 2, but it doesn't really have anything to do with Bubble Bubble. But somehow it's some kind of sequel to that game. Dr. Mario, classic puzzle game. Here's a really good platformer for the NES, and a bit of a hidden gem, I guess. I mean, I don't hear people talking about this game a lot, and it's not really a very easy game to get a hold of either, I think. It's Rocking Cats, from Atlas, and this is a really good platformer, definitely a game that's recommended to pick up, and it is quite a rare title, but I don't think it's so pricey for it being quite a rare title and also a good one, so it's a good game to pick up, I think. Then we have Top Gun Second Mission. This is one of the games that I had as a kid. Section Z from Capcom. This is a side-scrolling shooter, and well, I had really mixed to negative feelings about this game as a kid, because back then games were so expensive that I couldn't really afford to buy many games, so in order to get a new game I had to trade in some of my old ones, and I was really upset because I traded in Rygar, which is a really good game, and I bought this one, and even though it's a good game, it's just really hard, and for little kids that's 10 years old or something, it was really frustrating, and although I did play this game quite a lot, I just didn't enjoy it as much as Rygar. But of course I had to get it again, as it's one of the games that I had as a kid. So then we have Turtles 2, the arcade game. This is quite a good side-scrolling beat-em-up. A Boy and His Blob, Trouble on Globalonia, from David Crane. This is quite a unique game, and quite a nice platformer as well. basically you're playing as this boy, and he has this blob coming along with him all the time, and you have a little piece of paper with a note here where you have these different jelly beans that you can feed the blob, and that gives him different abilities. So if you give him the tangerine jelly bean, he becomes a trampoline, and if you give him the root beer jelly bean, then he becomes a rocket. So it's quite a unique game, and although I haven't played it so much, I really appreciate the originality of it. So also there was a sequel on the Game Boy. Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. I have the first one in Norway, and well, you know, I don't like the second game as much as the first one. Everyone knows and everyone agrees that Castlevania 2 is the worst Castlevania on the NES. And I remember actually renting this from the video store as a kid and finding it really frustrating because, you know, you have to talk to everyone in town, and they say a lot of stuff that you're supposed to gather some hints. You know, you're supposed to get some hints from what they're saying, and it was just really cryptic, and I couldn't really get into it as a kid. And I haven't really tried it so much as a grown-up still. The Goonies 2. Here's I don't know if you guys can guess which game this could be. This is a German exclusive game. Actually, it wasn't released in any other countries in Europe, as far as I know. I think this game was only, either it was only released in Germany, or it was released only in Germany and Japan. And it is quite a decent platformer. Actually, it has really nice soundtrack. It sounds like Commodore 64 type of soundtrack, and that's The Beauty and the Beast from Hudson Soft, Die Schöne und das Biest. Yeah, it's a bit of a worn copy here, but I found this at a flea market for 1 or 2 euros, and it's really cool to have these German exclusives. I have one more game that's a German exclusive in my collection, and we'll get to that towards the end. It's along with my boxed copies that I'm gonna show in the end of this video. Then we have Kirby's Adventure. Really cute and nice platformer. I really like this game, although it is quite easy and quite short, so still it's very enjoyable. I mean, it's a bit on the easy side. Basically, the problem is that Kirby can fly, so you can just fly over all the levels if you want. But it does have a lot of charm, great music, and really nice character design. And you know, Kirby is one of my all-time favorite characters, so definitely I recommend the game to pick up. Snake, Rattle and Roll. This is a game from Rare, and haven't really played this game so much, but it's supposed to be a pretty good title. And then we have another US game here. This game wasn't released in PAL territories, and Angry Video Game Nerd made a video about this game, and it's supposed to be extremely bad. I haven't really played it so much yet, but let's highlight. And this is an RPG, and yeah, if you're interested, you can have a look at the AVGN video for that. So it's quite cool to have this in my collection. I like the label artwork, and I enjoy playing some RPGs on the NES. Then we have Hook, which is quite a bad platformer. Actually, not a very good game, I think. And Shadow Warriors, it's also known as, I think, Ninja Gaiden in the US. And I'm missing the second and the third game in the series. This is an amazing game. It's really hard, but it's definitely one of the best titles on the NES, and must own for the system for sure. Then we have Kid Icarus, which is another game that I played quite a lot back when I was a kid, when it came out. I found this game way too difficult back then, and it is still too difficult. It's a really hard game, and as a kid I couldn't even make it past the first level. It's just so hard, but it has a really nice atmosphere. Like, the atmosphere is a little bit like Metroid, and the graphics have some similarities as well. Kind of like quite a dark game in the beginning, because you start out down in hell and you kind of work your way upwards into the sky, and towards the end it becomes more like a side-scrolling shooter actually, but I haven't gotten that far in the game yet, but a must-own for the system for sure. One of the classics. Then we have Wrath of the Black Manta. It's quite a decent game from Taito. It's like a side-scrolling ninja game. Then we have another NTSC game. This game wasn't released in PAL territories. That's Strider from Capcom. And it's not the best Capcom game, I think. It has a lot of flaws, but still it's considered to be quite a good game and worth picking up. And it's quite cheap to import it as well, so I decided to pick it up. The Adventures of Bayou Billy. I really don't like this game. It's way too hard. It's just extremely frustrating. But the game is kind of divided into 3 different gameplay styles. You have a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and then you have like driving levels and light gun levels, which is kind of a neat idea, but they just cranked up the difficulty too high, and it's mostly a frustrating experience. Not a game I recommend picking up, but if you find it for €1 or 2, you know, why not? This is one of my favorite games for the NES, and a game that I played so much back then when I was a kid, and it has really tight controls and was somehow revolutionary at the time when it came out. That's Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! The later versions of the game didn't have the name Mike Tyson on it, and I have both versions here. I have the other one here somewhere. But this is an amazing game, and if you own an NES, you have to get Punch-Out! If you don't already own it. And then we have the first Castlevania with the... oh wait. Okay, that's the Castlevania manual. Yeah, right, I have Castlevania in Norway actually, so I only have the manual here. But this is a Stinger, which is another US import. This wasn't released in PAL territories. And it's a pretty decent shoot 'em up. The reason I bought it is because I'm a big fan of Pop and Twinbee. And this game is, I don't know, I think it's the first game in the Pop and Twinbee series or something, I'm not really sure. But it's a pretty decent shooter, so it doesn't cost much to import it. One of the most common games there is, Super Mario Brothers, Tetris, and Nintendo World Cup. Of course, all classic games. I used to play World Cup quite a bit back in the day as well. Pretty much the only football game that I'm interested in playing. Then we have Probotector, the first game, or Contra as it's known in the US. Must own for the system. Really an amazing game. Side-scrolling shooter, run and gun. Tiger Heli or Heli, not sure how to pronounce it. This is a top-down shoot 'em up, and as I remember it, quite a good one. Now this is a game that I picked up in a bundle with quite a few other games. And it turns out it's one of the most, not one of the most rare titles, but it's a very rare title for the NES. And it's a Turtles game, so I guess you guys already guessed which game that is. And that's Turtles Tournament Fighters. When I bought this, I didn't know that it's worth anything, and later I found out that it's worth quite a bit. I'm not exactly sure, like maybe 50 or 60 euros on eBay or so. And it's a good fighter in the style of Street Fighter 2, and a good game to pick up, but I wouldn't pay eBay prices for it. Then we have the Smurfs, the Schlümpfe, mediocre platformer. And then we have quite a good title here, Kung Fu, one of the early releases on the NES. And of course the most classic, well, not the most classic, but I would say this is maybe the best game ever released on the NES. and that's of course Super Mario 3. And I played this so much as a kid. A couple of friends of mine owned this, and it was just mind-blowing at the time when it came out. It was so much more advanced than anything else, and the step from Super Mario 2 to Super Mario 3 was just such a huge leap. And the gameplay and the power-ups, it's just a completely mind-blowing game in every way, and nowadays a real classic, of course. Then we have Muck Rider, one of the best games on the NES here as well. From Capcom we have Mega Man 3. I have number 2 and number 4 as well, still missing number 1 and 5 and 6. Number 6 was a US exclusive, the US and Japan, wasn't released in PAL territories. Another game that I would play at a friend's house when I was a kid. This is in the Simpsons universe, and that's the Simpsons part versus the world. Not a very good game, but I'm a bit biased on this one. I have a lot of nostalgia for the Bart games, and it's a frustrating and somehow bad game, but I quite like it. Swords versus Serpents. This is a NTSC copy. I think this was released in PAL territories as well, but I got it together in a bundle with some other US games, and I'm planning to swap it out as soon as I get a PAL copy. And here's a bit of a hidden gem on the system as well. Not a lot of people talk about this game, and it's a really nice platformers with different monsters. You can play as Frankenstein and Dracula and so on. And it's quite a affordable title to pick up as well. I definitely recommend picking up Monster in My Pocket from Konami or Palcom. A really good platformer, and recommended title. Joe and Mac, Caveman Ninja. This game is better played on the Super Nintendo. I think this is a dumbed down port of the Super Nintendo game, if I remember correctly. And here's another hidden gem on the system that it has like two different gameplay modes. You have a top-down shooter kind of stage, and then you have like a Zelda 1 kind of view, dungeon exploring kind of gameplay as well. And that's the Guardian Legend. Quite an affordable game to pick up, and it's a really good one. Great music, good gameplay. Mediocre title coming up here, To the Earth. And this is a light gun shooter. Actually, this game is was really cheap to pick up, but it's an uncommon title, and that's Kabuki Quantum Fighter, and quite a good platformer as well. It has like a bit of a strange mechanic where the main character uses the hair as a whip to kind of hang on to ledges and make longer jumps and stuff. I haven't played it too much, but as far as I got in the game, it's a good one. Then we have the first Top Gun game, Trojan. This has really nice graphics and nice music, and it's quite a good title, I think. And then we have Gradius, side-scrolling shoot 'em up, really good one. And then we have one of my two Batman games. I think there were 3 Batman games for the NES. This is Return of the Joker. I haven't played this so much, but it's supposed to be a good game, and I really like Sunsoft titles. And so here's another really good title, and I haven't played this too much yet, but so far it's a really enjoyable game. I really enjoy the style and the gameplay. That's Star Tropics, and there was a sequel for this. I think it's called something like Zodiac's Revenge or something, can't remember, but the sequel wasn't released in Europe, so I'm planning to import that from the US at some point. Tennis, Solar Jetman. This is another game from Rare, and seems like quite a good one. I haven't played it so much yet. And now comes another quite a rare title, and I guess quite a hidden gem as well on the system. Not a lot of people talk about this game, and it's a really good platformer, and that's Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu from Hudson Soft. This is I would say this is a must-own for the system, but you know, it's quite rare and hard to find, so if you can find it for a decent price, definitely pick this up. I was lucky enough to find this at a second-hand shop here in Germany, so and the European label is much nicer than the US one. If there are any US viewers out there, you might know the realistic artwork on the US label, but this one has more like a goofy style, much more fitting, I guess, for Jackie Chan, who is kind of a goofy actor. There's another US import, The Adventures of Dino Ricky, another Hudson Soft title. Quite a decent top-down view scrolling shooter, but really difficult and a bit too difficult for my taste. And then we have Skate or Die. This is a game that I would play on my PC back in the day. I played this and Skate or Die quite a lot. And they are both really good games, but I think they're better played on the PC or Amiga. And here is uncommon or rare, I'm not sure. At least uncommon, I think, is a rare title, and it's a really cool game as well. I think I paid around 12 euros for this on eBay, and that's Swordmaster. This is it's a really cool game actually, and it has really big sprites, and it's a side-scrolling action game, and quite a nice game to pick up if you can find it for an affordable price. A classic here, Pinball. I used to play this at a friend's house quite a bit when I was a kid. And a good puzzle game is Yoshi's Cookie. I would recommend picking this up if you like puzzle games. And then we have the other Batman game in my collection, Batman the video game from Sunsoft. This is a real classic, and a lot of people played this back in the day. I didn't really play it back then, but I still haven't played it so much yet, even today. But I will get more into this game at some point. I have been trying it out for a bit, and it seems really great so far. I love the music, and it has really tight controls, and it's one of the must-owns for the NES as well. Then we have a really good beat-em-up for the system, and this is a game that I really dreamt of getting as a kid. I remember reading about this in the Nintendo Magazine, Nintendo Power, or the Norwegian equivalent of Nintendo Power. And I saw some screenshots of this game, and I thought it just looked so amazing. And actually, I didn't get around to try this until I started collecting about four or 5 years ago. And it's a bit of a Turtles ripoff, and that's Battletoads. And I really love the Battletoads games. They are quite difficult, but not in a frustrating way. And well, it's a bit frustrating when you play two-player actually, but you know, the problem is that you can kill each other, which I really hate in co-op games. But still, it's a really good beat 'em up. If you like beat 'em ups, definitely a game to check out. Time Lord, Krusty's Funhouse, quite a good puzzle game. And then we have, I think there were 3 Simpsons games released for the NES, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, not Simpsons games, we have Krusty Funhouse as well, which is also a Simpsons game, but I mean in the series of The Simpsons. Bart games, I guess you could say. And this is the more rare of the 3, and that's The Simpsons Bartman meets a Radioactive Man. It's a pretty bad game, but it's a rare title, so I was very happy to find this for cheap on the flea market. And this is really a hidden gem for the system, and quite an expensive and rare title to pick up as well. And this is, I would say, probably my favorite side-scrolling shoot-'em-up for the NES. It has amazing graphics, really good for NES, and that's Over Horizon. And this is some kind of exclusive now. I can't remember if this is a PAL exclusive and that it wasn't released in the US. I think that's the case, that it's a PAL exclusive, I think. Really, really good title to pick up if you can find it. Another uncommon game here, Zen Intergalactic Ninja. Tried this for a little bit, couldn't really get into it. Another uncommon game, Dynablaster or Bomberman from Hudson Soft. And here's another US import. This wasn't released in PAL. Legendary Wings. It's quite a good side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. Nothing amazing, but another import, Wampum from Jaleco. It's like a platformer, a little bit in the style of, I think, Mega Man or something. Not a really very good game, but it was quite cheap to import it, so I decided to get it. It's quite a decent platformer. Another copy of Mega Man 3. I'm planning to trade that at some point. It's always a good game to trade. Everyone wants Mega Man 3. The 2 and 3 are the best games on the NES, I think. George Foreman's KO Boxing. This is a really shitty game. And then we have Pinbot. This is made by Rare, actually, and it's a pretty decent pinball game. Yeah, not much more to say about that. And then we have Totally Rad. The Hunt for Red October, with Sean Connery on the label there. Maniac Mansion. This is a classic LucasArts game, and it was the game that came before Day of the Tentacle. It's kind of like the Day of the Tentacle is a sequel to Maniac Mansion, and was a really good game when it came out. I was a bit too young when it came out, so I actually played Day of the Tentacle more than this one, and I only played this game after Day of the Tentacle. But it's a really good adventure game where you can switch between several characters, I think 3 characters, and quite a rare title on the NES as well. Trog, Wizards and Warriors. This is a rare title from Rare, made by Rare. It's a really good one, has amazing music. Oh, I seem to have another copy of Track and Field 2. And I seem to have another copy of Kid Icarus. But I'm gonna hold on to this one actually because it has 2 different labels. In the same way, you have several games that have different labels, and when it has 2 different labels, I want to keep both of them. With Punch Out and Super Mario Bros. Also has the same. With one label has more this kind of pixel image, and another one has more like more of a detailed illustration on the label. I prefer the other label, but I want to have both. And then we have Mega Man 4. It's quite a rare title. And now we come to my boxed games. And you know, I don't really collect boxed games. If I find it for cheap on the flea market, of course I pick it up. But I prefer collecting loose copies, and I'm not going for switching out all my games with box copies on the long run or anything like that. So I don't have a lot of boxed games, but sometimes I made some really good finds, and of course decided to pick it up, and that's, yeah. So I have a few box copies. We have Tetris, and this is pretty much my favorite NES game back when I was a kid. Maybe not nowadays, but for nostalgic reasons, it's still one of my favorites, and that's DuckTales from Capcom. And I think everyone who had an NES had played this back in the day. It's a really amazing platformer, and you have to own this game if you have an NES. It also had a sequel, DuckTales 2, which is a much more rare title, and still missing the second game. Then we have a boxed copy of Super Mario Bros. Picked this up for €1 on eBay. It's like €3 including shipping, so I thought it's worth to pick up the boxed copy then for that price. Boxed copy of Kid Icarus, so I have 3 copies of Kid Icarus. A boxed copy of the Goonies, and I have this game loose as well. The Goonies is a good game. And a boxed copy of Shadowgate. I haven't played this game so much. It's a bit of a adventure game with dungeon crawling visuals. The Bugs Bunny Blowout, quite a good platformer that doesn't get a lot of praise. A bit of a rare game to find, especially complete, and that's Alfred Chicken. This game goes for 50 or 60 euros on eBay, and I don't know, not a great game or something. I haven't played it so much. I didn't like it too much, but pretty cool to have it complete still. Tom and Jerry, Das Spiel Katz und Maus. This is a game that I would borrow from a friend back in the day, so I played this quite a lot. I think I played through the whole game, and I really enjoyed it back then, but playing it now, it's actually quite a bad platformer, and yeah, not a very good game at all, but I'm quite happy to have it complete still for the nostalgia value. And okay, now you already saw the game, so I can't surprise you with what it will be. So this is a Banana Prince, and this is actually a German exclusive. This was only released in Germany and Japan, and it's a very rare game for the NES. This goes for, I think, around 120 euros complete on eBay, and I got this for next to nothing. Paid like about it in a bundle where I ended up paying like €2 per game or something, and they were all boxed, which is one of my best finds ever. If you look at my earliest videos, I show that pickup. It's like a mix between a side-scrolling platformer and a quiz game, and I haven't played it too much, but it seems quite decent. So. And then we have Parodius, and this is another game that I had as a kid, and I found it way too difficult back then, and it's still very difficult. That's Ghosts and Goblins, and yeah, I'm very happy to have this boxed, as it's one of the games that I had back then, and I really like this game, but it is a bit too difficult. In the later levels it gets to be quite impossible. And I think Super Ghouls and Ghosts is a more playable game and the better game on the Super Nintendo. So this is still a good game. But if you haven't played the Super Nintendo game, the sequel, then try that one first, and then go for this one after. Box copy of Trojan, as you saw. I also have a loose copy of this game. And then again, my second copy of Probotector boxed. And then we have Gremlins 2, the new batch. This is another game that I played at a friend's house back in the day, and I had really fond memories of that. And I picked this up not so long ago. I hadn't played it for many years, probably 18 years or so. And I played this again, and it's still a really good game. This is really a recommended title to pick up. Of course, it's Sunsoft, which means that it's a good game. They made a lot of good games for the NES back then, but yeah, this is one of my favorites actually on the NES. Definitely something to look into if you haven't played it. Finally, just some more duplicates here. Box copy of Ice Climber, and another box copy of Super Mario Bros. This is the copy that I like better. The other one has this pixel graphic, but this has a really nice illustration, and this is the copy that I had back in the day. on my old NES. Well, actually, I had Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt, but I mean the label artwork was this one, and I have a lot of nostalgia about this illustration. So very happy to have a box copy with that illustration on it. So yeah, that's it for my NES collection video. Around 100 titles here, and hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and until next time.